Here is a brutal truth that might make you want to click off this video immediately. You do not actually want to be happy. You think you do. You consciously strive for it, you write it down in your journals, and you tell your friends that all you want is peace. But deep in the subterranean architecture of your unconscious mind, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung would argue that a massive part of you is actively fighting against your own liberation. We treat suffering not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a secret lover we cannot bear to leave. We cling to our pain because, without it, we are terrified that we wouldn't know who we are. This is the great paradox of the human condition. We are addicted to the very things that destroy us. Welcome to the psychology of suffering. Today, we are not offering you platitudes or toxic positivity. We are going to perform a psychological autopsy using the combined frameworks of Freudian psychoanalysis and Jungian analytical psychology to uncover why you are stuck, why you repeat the same toxic cycles, and why, on a fundamental level, you are terrified of letting your suffering go. Let's bring this down from the abstract clouds of philosophy into the gritty reality of your Tuesday night. How many times have you complained about a situation, a dead-end job, a toxic relationship, a habit of procrastination, only to find yourself in the exact same position 6 months later? You know the stove is hot, yet you place your hand on it again and again. This isn't stupidity. You are not broken, and you are not unintelligent. This is a sophisticated defense mechanism. Consider the person who despises their chaotic upbringing, but finds themselves dating partners who bring nothing but chaos. Consider the aspiring artist who dreams of success, but spends every free hour distracting themselves with cheap dopamine, effectively sabotaging their own dream. This is the pain point we all share, the feeling of being trapped in a loop. You feel like a passenger in your own body, watching yourself make the same mistakes, screaming at the windshield, but unable to turn the wheel. The suffering feels inevitable, like gravity. It feels like fate. But Freud and Jung would tell you that this isn't fate. It is a script you wrote for yourself before you even knew how to speak, and you are directing the play every single day. The question is, why does the script always end in tragedy? To understand this, we must first look at Sigmund Freud's concept of Wiederholungszwang, or repetition compulsion. Freud noticed a disturbing trend in his patients. They didn't just remember their traumas, they reenacted them. If a person was abandoned as a child, they would unconsciously seek out people who would abandon them as adults. Why on earth would the human mind do this? Freud argued that the psyche is trying to master the original trauma. By recreating the situation, the unconscious mind thinks, "This time I will control it. This time I will fix it." But we never do. We just re-traumatize ourselves. Freud takes this darker. He proposed the existence of the death drive, thanatos. While we have a drive for life and creation, we also possess an innate biological drive toward destruction, chaos, and a return to the inorganic state. Suffering, in this view, is the path of least resistance. Happiness requires energy, maintenance, and responsibility. Misery? Misery is easy. Misery is entropy. Letting go of suffering is difficult because it requires fighting against the gravity of your own destructive instincts. Furthermore, Freud identified secondary gain. This is the unconscious benefit you get from your problem. If you are the victim, you get sympathy. If you are depressed, you might be excused from the terrifying responsibility of striving for greatness. Your suffering has utility. It buys you a pass from the demands of life. Then enters Carl Jung, who splits from Freud to offer a perspective that is perhaps even more terrifying, but ultimately more hopeful. Jung famously said, "Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering." Read that again. Jung believed that life involves inherent, unavoidable suffering, the suffering of growth, of facing the unknown, of taking responsibility. When we refuse to face that legitimate suffering, when we refuse to grow up, we develop neurosis. We develop anxiety, depression, and addictions as a way to avoid the harder task of self-actualization. Jung argues that you hold on to suffering because it shields you from the shadow. The shadow consists of all the parts of yourself you refuse to acknowledge. Your aggression, your selfishness, your capacity for evil, but also your hidden creativity and power. To let go of your neurotic suffering, you would have to face your shadow. You would have to admit that you are not just a victim, but also a perpetrator in your own life. You would have to admit that you have the capacity to be a monster and that you have wasted years of your life. That realization is painful. So, the ego chooses the dull ache of familiar suffering over the sharp, burning pain of transformation. We also suffer because of what Jung calls the refusal of the call to adventure. Your psyche yearns for individuation, the process of becoming your true, whole self. But the path to individuation leads through the dark forest of the unknown. It is scary out there. So, we stay in the village. We stay in the relationship we've outgrown. We stay in the mindset of the child. We cling to suffering because it serves as a barrier against the terrifying vastness of our own potential. As long as you are broken, you don't have to try. As long as you are suffering, you are safe from the risk of failure. The synthesis of Freud and Jung here provides a complete picture. Freud explains the mechanism. We repeat the past because it is familiar and offers secondary gains. And Jung explains the purpose. We cling to neurotic pain to avoid the harder work of spiritual and psychological growth. You are not holding on to pain because you love pain. You are holding on to it because you fear the death of your current identity. To let go of suffering means the person you are right now must die so that the person you are becoming can be born. So, how do we break the loop? How do we release this psychological anchor? We cannot simply think positive. We need actionable, depth psychology-based steps to surgically remove the attachment to suffering. Step 1. The secondary gain audit. You must be ruthlessly honest with yourself. Take a piece of paper and write down your biggest struggle. Then ask the forbidden question, what am I getting out of this? Do not say nothing. If you are still doing it, you are getting something. Does your anxiety give you an excuse to cancel plans? Does your cynicism make you feel intellectually superior to happy people? Does your heartbreak allow you to avoid intimacy? You must identify the bribe your neurosis is paying you. Once you see the transaction, the spell begins to break. You realize you are selling your soul for a very cheap price. Step 2. Distinguish legitimate versus neurotic suffering. Jung teaches us that we cannot eliminate all suffering, but we can swap useless pain for useful pain. Neurotic suffering is cyclical. It goes nowhere. Worrying, complaining, self-pity. Legitimate suffering is linear. It leads somewhere. The pain of discipline, the pain of honest communication, the pain of learning a new skill. When you feel pain, ask yourself, is this pain moving me forward or is it spinning me in circles? If it's circular, you must consciously choose a difficult task that moves you forward. Replace the anxiety of procrastination with the pain of doing the work. Step 3. Shadow integration via active imagination. You are likely projecting your suffering onto the world. You think the world is doing this to you. Jung suggests active imagination. Sit in a quiet room, close your eyes, and personify your suffering. If your pain was a person, what would they look like? Talk to it. Ask it what it wants. Often you will find that your suffering is a childish part of you that is screaming for attention or safety. By dialoguing with it, you move it from the unconscious, where it controls you, to the conscious, where you can manage it. You stop being possessed by the feeling and start having a relationship with it. Step 4. The ritual of release. The psyche speaks in symbols, not just words. Freud noted the power of ritual. You need to physically enact the letting go. Write down the narrative of your suffering, the story you tell yourself about why your life is hard. Read it out loud. Then burn it. Watch it turn to ash. This isn't magic. It's psychological signaling. You are telling your unconscious mind that this narrative is dead. You are disrupting the repetition compulsion by introducing a new ending to the script. Step 5. Accept the responsibility of freedom. This is the hardest step. If you let go of your suffering, you have no one left to blame. If you are not the victim, you are the architect. You must accept that your life is entirely in your hands. This is terrifying, but it is the only path to true power. You must be willing to be happy, even if it feels unfamiliar. You must be willing to be successful, even if it alienates people who bonded with you over shared misery. The cage door is open. It has always been open. Freud and Jung have shown us that the only thing keeping you inside is the fear that you won't know how to fly. But the air is waiting. The sky is yours. Stop falling in love with your chains. Walk through the door.